that all about? And she said, I don't want to look disloyal in this shop. And the 10-year-old me laughed loudly and scoffed. But I realise now what I didn't as a kid, because I do exactly what she did. Well, not the carrier bag thing, but I've got her attitude. Because in her own way, she was just showing gratitude for her shop that was local. Her brand of loyalty, finally, makes sense to me.
Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond.
There was an accident. Somebody did it to us.
This is the Riviera, darling. People get away with everything.
This is Sky News live at 6, where at least 12 people have died when a huge fire destroyed a 24-storey tower block. Flames are still coming from the building more than 17 hours after the alarm was first raised. Fire crews managed to rescue large numbers of residents, but others weren't so lucky.
There were just people screaming from the windows, and you can see people that were flashing their lights and that. Yeah, and then people were, I think, waving pieces of clothes or something out the window.
Worried families turned to social media in the desperate hunt for their loved ones. London Mayor Sadiq Khan says there are questions to be answered, and as emerges, residents were advised to stay in their flats in the event of fire.
There are very legitimate and very reasonable questions that a whole host of people are asking, and they deserve and demand answers.
And the local community offers its doors, offering food, clothes and shelter to the hundreds left homeless by the devastating fire. Well, this is Sky News live from West London, where at least 12 people have died when fire engulfed a 24-storey tower block. Even now, 16 or so hours since the fire, it is still burning. We are seeing hot spots of fire. The breeze that's gently picking up seems to be fanning the flames, and the fire service are still pouring water into this block, trying to extinguish it. Police say that the number of dead at 12 is expected to rise. Emergency crews managed to get all the way to the top of Grenfell Tower. A large number of people were physically rescued by them last night. London Ambulance says 78 people have been admitted to 6 hospitals across London, 18 of them in critical care. Evacuation centres have been set up for residents. Well, let's take a look at the story of the day. A warning that this report by Sky's Ian Woods does contain witness accounts, which some viewers may find upsetting.
London's worst fire for decades ripped through the 24-storey building with shocking speed and ferocity. Those on upper floors probably didn't realise how much danger they were in until it was too late to escape. People living nearby were woken by the sound of screams and sirens. One of those who escaped was alerted by his neighbour, who told him the fire began in his flat.
It's by chance that we had a knock, and the guy who knocked so happens to be the guy whose house was the cause of the whole thing. It's his fridge. He explained to us as he came down afterwards and was outside the building. He explained to us that it was due to his fridge, which exploded. That's what he kept saying. On the 4th floor.
Those who live in the streets surrounding Grenfell Tower watched in horror as the flames took hold.
It was just like a waterfall on the left-hand side of fire and flames, but now it's spread all to the right of the building, that part there, and it's also gone down the left-hand side of the building as well.
The best thing you guys can do if you've got family, friends, relatives, stay behind the line.
We could hear people screaming, help me, and flashing their phone lights to let people know that they were there.
But there's nothing, you're just helpless.
Several hundred people live in the tower block, and many did manage to escape.
I've opened the window and I heard some woman saying it's getting bigger, it's getting bigger. So I've gone out to the hallway, I've looked through the spire hole, I see smoke everywhere. I've opened the door and the neighbours were there, there were people screaming, the firemen said, get down the stairs. So I've grabbed the little girl, grabbed my girlfriend, ran out of the house. I heard a lot of screams and I could see, after I got outside, I was looking up and I could see people banging on the windows and there was fire all around them. It was horrendous.
As dawn broke, the building was still an inferno, and witnesses described dreadful scenes of desperate people trapped inside their homes.
She was quite high up, like just above the middle, and she was screaming, I've got a baby, please help me get out, I can't get out, I'm trapped, I need to save my baby. I did see a few people jump, people were jumping. I think at that point it was, you either jump and trying to save your life, you might break a few bones or get engulfed in that flame.
Debris was falling, and then when you looked a little bit further, the other side of the tower was on fire. There's people rolling down sheets and trying to make ropes to get down. Obviously, they must have been trapped and they couldn't get out, and there was banging on the windows, screaming, flashing lights to try and get their attention. There was the fire brigade trying to put ladders up at different parts of the building. There was a bloke that jumped out what was on fire, and there was another bloke that jumped out and broke his leg.
While her firefighters still fought to bring the blaze under control, London's fire commissioner confirmed the extent of the tragedy.
This is an unprecedented incident. In my 29 years of being a firefighter, I have never, ever seen anything of this scale. Our first fire engines were on scene in under 6 minutes. Crews wearing breathing apparatus and extended duration breathing apparatus have been working in extremely challenging and very difficult conditions to rescue people and to bring this major fire under control. We have got a structural engineer who, in conjunction with my urban search and rescue advisor, is monitoring the stability of the building. At the moment, the building continues to be safe for our crews to go and work in.
Sadly, I can confirm that 12 people that have died that we know of. This is going to be a long and complex recovery operation, and I do anticipate that the number of fatalities will sadly increase beyond those 12.
Hours after the fire started, some people were still waiting to be rescued. Eventually, firefighters were able to reach some of those who'd been trapped and carry them to safety. In the confusion, many people are worried about what's happened to family and friends.
Right? Very, very, very sorry.
Tito, I'm alive. I'm all right. I'm in Arrow Club.
The building had recently been refurbished. A residents' action group say they've been complaining for years about fire safety and that only a catastrophic event would expose the issues.
So I peeked through the window. I saw fire engines everywhere. At least one of them could have pressed our bells to say, wake up all of you, there's fire in your building. Nothing.
Were there no alarms in the corridor?
No alarm. Nothing. Nothing.
In the 2.5 years I was there was never an evacuation test. Then one of the new boilers tripped out the beginning of last year, and we lost power to the building. And half of the emergency stairwell was not lit, so the emergency lighting did not work on half of the stairwell.
The official advice to residents in the event of a fire was to stay within their flats and await rescue. But the Mayor of London says that initially, firefighters couldn't get above the 12th floor. He says questions will need to be answered as soon as possible about what went wrong.
You're right to raise the question about issues raised by tenants on that block and others. And the reason why it should be a huge source of concern for all of us is there are many tower blocks across London and across the country. Many of them are the responsibility of local authorities. Others are the responsibility of private management companies. And we need to make sure that the legitimate questions people have are answered. But you'll appreciate that our focus today has to be search and rescue and then recovery.
Many of the residents are Muslim, and because Ramadan means fasting during daylight hours, they eat late at night. So many were still awake when the fire started. That may have saved lives, though getting out of the tower block was difficult.
There's just one staircase, one in, one out. So if you can't get to them staircase, you are not getting out of that building. There's only one way out of that building, and that's to jump.
In the early hours of the morning, one man spoke on the phone to a relative trapped on the 21st floor.
The woman sounds like calm, and she wasn't panicked or anything. And I said, where is your husband? She said, he's talking to the emergency. And I said, why didn't you come out? She said, they tell us to stay in. We cannot come out. And I said, what did they ask you to do? She said, they asked us to cover the doors
with towels, and she said, but the fire is coming heavily. And then about, I think, 10, 15 minutes later, we phoned them back. And I said, where is your husband? She said, he's still talking. And they said, they're coming to us. And I said, what happened? She said, the last thing she said, smoke is coming heavily through the door into the flat. And that was the last time we heard of her.
More than 200 firefighters were deployed. Residents who were led to safety by them praised their courage.
As I was going downstairs, you had 3 firefighters going up the stairs, putting their BA sets on, basically going up, trying to rescue as many people as they possibly did.
The authorities admit that at the moment they have no idea how many people are still unaccounted for.
You know, I pray to God that they're okay. The fire did go and spread to that part of the building, their parts of the building, and I know that I was told from people who had managed to contact them that they had moved to the flats next door, but we've asked around. I know people, the services and the authorities here are still trying to gather information. We've gone to several of the rescue centres that have been set up and asked and given names, but we've had nothing so far. I know it takes a while. I'm just praying to God that they're all right.
Pictures and names of the missing are now being circulated with appeals for information. Among them, well-known artist Khadija Saye.
Khadija sent out a message about 12 hours ago to say that she was trapped and that everybody should pray for her. We've come down trying to look for her. We've been everywhere. We can't find her.
London hospitals dealt with dozens of casualties, as well as those seeking information about loved ones who are missing. The scale of the inferno means it could be many hours